Ladies and gents, boys and girls, happy Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. I see Dave Garrick, Travi, Braddock, John Edward, Will Hall, Ethan, and my good friend Austin Gregory, who submitted tons of questions earlier this morning. Austin, I appreciate that. We will get to each and every single one of those in our Q&A Power Hour. Also, Justin Langford, I see you. What's going on? Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord, head over to the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Question channel, to be sure your questions are answered there. By the way, shout out my guy, James Kendall, who is in Catrice, Greece. I don't know if that's how you say that, but you might have seen this morning we posted the picture of the Beamer Ball flag that is hanging up in a beautiful setting in Greece. Beamer Ball has gone global, and it's thanks to our good friend James Kendall, who is in the Big Cock Club. So, James, thank you so much for sending that over. Again, guys, hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. We got a packed show today, truly start to finish. Of course, in our third hour, we have our Q&A Power Hour. We'll take all your questions, comments, calls. In our second hour, we've got my good friend JC Sherbert of the Big Spur, which great timing getting JC on today, because JC, with what's happened over the past 24 hours, well, the welcome homes from Shane Beamer, 3 to be exact, if I stand correctly. One of those we do know. It is a special teamer, a 5-star kicker and punter. The others we feel pretty certain, at least of who one of them is. But we'll get more intel from JC Sherbert of that. Of course, we'll talk baseball as well. And on that note, we'll talk more baseball today, guys, as I reveal my postseason report card. We'll have our postseason award show, and I'm also talking top 5 moments of the Yardcocks 2023 baseball season. But again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Like I mentioned, we've got a jam-packed show, a lot to get into. And let me also say this before we get going. This is the time of year right now with baseball now in the rear view that I really sit down. And I've got a pretty good idea over the next couple of weeks what I will do on TDC, the podcast, etc., with, our top 5 series, if you will. After today, it'll really be all football talk unless there's some sort of baseball news that does come up. But I'm really excited, guys, because with the new format of the show, the way that we are distributing the show, I'm really excited, too, as we get breaking news from Austin Gregory that it looks like Brett Thomas has entered the transfer portal. As I'm in the middle of saying something, hey, that's how the news works, right? It looks like Brett Thomas, Gamecocks, writing a picture. Let's see. Where are you seeing that, Austin Gregory? Is that something? Let's see. Where are you seeing that, my friend? How am I missing that? How am I missing that? Is that just like a rumor, or is that actually happening? I'm confused. Is that actually happening, or am I just seeing things? Posted by Chris Edwards. I did hear that it was a possibility. Of course, you knew that already. Okay, we will. All right. We'll get to that later. I think that is something that's probably going to happen, Austin Gregory, if it's not officially official, but it will happen. I've at least heard that is a likely move. Yeah, just send me the link for sure. We'll get into it later in the show. What I wanted to say was it's really exciting times because obviously with the way that we are distributing content via the podcast, the way the Daily Crow is now operating, the rest of this month, of course, we'll spend time doing kind of our normal off-season song and dance with a top 5 list and ranking the top 5 of everything that you can think of, really just finding ways to kill time in the off-season now that baseball's officially over. But just looking ahead, and as I'm sitting here plotting content, planning content, again, guys, we got a full Excel spreadsheet where I plan everything out, because when you create the amount of content that we create before the football season, and in season as well, you have to have it laid out and organized to some degree. With that being said, really excited because of the new format, aka we have more time and more opportunities to talk on these airwaves, to do different things. Really excited because we're going to be adding some different things. We're going to be doing some things differently, if you will. And I'm just so pumped for what's ahead, what's in store. What it really means is at the end of the day, it's more content, it's more value for you guys, which is the ultimate goal each and every single day, is to provide value to the end consumer, aka all of you that tune in to the Daily Crow, to the podcast, on social media, who consume our merchandise, what have you. Again, thank y'all so much. Also, guys, on the note of the merchandise, a bit of a teaser for you. We are planning an early July relaunch of tsus.store, which it may not even be known as tsus.store after we relaunch the storefront. So really, really excited, guys. The entire store is getting a facelift. The merchandise itself is getting a facelift. Heck, the way we package the merchandise is getting a facelift. Everything across the board. I am making a serious investment in our store because the merchandise is a driver of our business. The merchandise is a huge part of our business, and the merchandise is a huge part of the value that we provide to each and every single one of you. So, guys, really, really excited. I know it's something you guys are going to be overjoyed to see, really excited to see, and you'll be able to load up on your merch. And again, there will be extra goodies and incentives. And, the focus is on, with this new relaunch, the customer experience. So, again, really, really pumped. That is in the pipeline. But in the meantime, guys, let's go ahead because, like I mentioned, we have got a packed show start to finish here on this Tuesday. And as we do each and every single baseball season, and really every baseball season for the Gamecocks, or season for the Gamecocks, I should say, no matter what it is, on today's show, I'm locking in and giving you all, we all had those teachers in school, right? We all had those teachers in school that were harsh with their grading, or some that graded on a curve, if you will. I remember that specifically. I wasn't the greatest student necessarily. I was okay, right? B's get degrees, C's get degrees, what have you. Today's show, though, the 2023 postseason report card is officially here as I give my grades for pitching, hitting, fielding, coaching, and the overall grade. And as I mentioned, we do this for each and every single Gamecocks sport at the end of their respective season. So let's dive into this, guys. We'll first start with South Carolina on the mound. How did the pitching grade in this 2023 baseball season? Let me give you the stats. A 4.19 overall ERA and a 5.24 SEC ERA. That overall ERA, guys, of 4.19 was good enough for second in the SEC. And when it comes to the Yardcocks arms, I graded them out, guys, for the 2023 season at an A overall. And listen, I know there were times where the pitching was shoddy, especially in the last month of the season. But you talk about grading on a bit of a curve. And it's not as simple as just what the numbers tell you, although the numbers were extremely good this year. I mean, second in the SEC, the best conference in all of college baseball. The only team to finish ahead of you was Tennessee with an astounding 3.57 ERA, which is one of the reasons why they are headed to Omaha for the College World Series. But you look at South Carolina, guys, one of the leaders in strikeouts as well, with 608 strikeouts. Hitters hit just 246 against your pitchers. And I think what you have to factor in when you look at these numbers is this. South Carolina was without Noah Hall for the majority of the 2023 season. Also, you factor in that Will Sanders flat out was not very good this year. We talked about that in detail yesterday. Top to bottom, we knew coming in that pitching depth was a strength for the Gamecocks. You had some youngsters emerge, right? A guy like Eli Jerzenbeck was fantastic up until he got injured. Other guys stepped up. Chris Veach, I think, was a bit of a surprise for you. Nick Proctor came on in the second half of the season. I thought Cade Austin was solid. Of course, he had his moments, but was solid for the most part. Jack Mahoney, I think, even exceeded expectations. Eli Jones was a fantastic surprise. James Hicks was even better than we expected coming off an injury in the 2022 campaign. Matthew Becker was really good for you as well, filling in that Game 3 spot. and coming out of the bullpen. So you look at this thing as a whole. And South Carolina, we expected pitching depth and we expected pitching to be a strength for this ball club. And that was the case, guys. And that, again, is the reason I give this group an A. If they had all parties healthy, then maybe I'm a little bit more harsh and we go with the A- or the B+ because what happened down the stretch. But I feel like you're really, really nitpicking if you don't give the Gamecocks pitching staff an A for the performance they put on during the 2023 season. Let's move into the offensive side of things. The Gamecocks hitters hit 273 this season overall, 251 in SEC play. It was the home run that carried South Carolina, 117 homers, but the Gamecocks also led the SEC in strikeouts, 626 strikeouts for South Carolina, guys. The next highest was Tennessee with 563, just to give you some perspective. Carolina was tied for 11th in the SEC in hitting with that 273 average, tied with Arkansas, ironically enough. And the Gamecocks, again, finishing in the bottom third of the league, which feels like a trend in the Mark Kingston era. So, you know, it's when you look at the hitting, and guys, I'll tell you this. I feel like I was very kind when it comes to the hitters and it comes to grading out the hitting. I give the hitting for the 2023 season a B-. I really wanted to give it a C+, and it feels weird because the highs for this offense were so high, right? The highs for this offense were incredibly high. I mean, you think about Game 1 against Florida, winning in 7 innings. You think about Game 1 against LSU, the offensive explosion, right? Like when the offense was good, the offense was really, really, really good. But over the final 4 weeks of the season, we saw some of the trademarks of the Mark Kingston era show themselves, right? Lack of patience, a lot of strikeouts. Again, you led the SEC with 626. And guys, when you look at the individual numbers, I mean, get this, like when you dive into the numbers, it really clears up and makes a lot of sense and puts things in perspective. Guys, the Yardcocks only had 3 hitters hit over 300 this season. Braylon Wimmer at 304, Cole Messina at 307, and of course, Ethan Petrie at 376. That is in all contests. When you look at just SEC play alone, it becomes even more evident some of the struggles that you had. Ethan Petrie, the lone Gamecock to hit over 300 at 359, followed by Cole Messina at 273, and then it really drops off. Michael Braswell at 253, Braylon Wimmer at 250, Gavin Costas at 245, Dylan Brewer at 241. And then there's a steep decline after that. So, because it's a weird feeling, I look back on this season, you feel like the offense took a step forward. And I believe they did. But I feel like the biggest difference, guys, in the offense this year versus the offense last year, which got an F by my grading, and they only hit 10 points lower than this group did. Now, they hit about 30 points lower in SEC play than they did this season. But the biggest thing that clicked this year versus all the previous Kingston years is that the home run didn't evade South Carolina. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this was a do or die, feast or famine type of offense just based off the long ball. But the home run was a huge part of what the Yardcocks did offensively. There's no denying that. Also, the thing that this offense showed more than anything was patience, right? Hit by pitches, walks, being able to clog up the base pass, if you will. That was something this group did at a much, much higher level than previous South Carolina teams. But with that being said, 273 overall average, 251 in SEC play, and the 117 home runs are great. They jump off the page. But those 626 strikeouts, they really balance it out. right? They really balance it out. And I know that strikeouts are a part of the game. I understand this is baseball now. But you just imagine, you wonder if South Carolina is able to eliminate those strikeouts by a fifth, how much better the offense could have been this season. So again, for all those reasons, I give the Gamecocks hitting in 2023 a B-. Let's move to the fielding. And my goodness, what a roller coaster this was. At times, Carolina looked like a College World Series contender, national championship type of defense. At other times, put a tent over the circus. It was like the bad news bears. Gamecocks fielded 975 this season. That was good enough for 12th in the SEC out of 14 teams. I give the Gamecocks fielding in 2023 a C-. And you look at the numbers, guys, and to me, the numbers don't lie. And as I mentioned, South Carolina at times, they were brilliant. I mean, we saw some great plays, man. Will Tippett, Evan Stone, Talmadge Lecroy, the hot corner, Michael Braswell, Braylon Wimmer, Cole Messina, the job he did behind the plate. We saw some great plays this season. Even Dylan Brewer getting on the action. We saw some fantastic glove work. But it was mixed in with, there were some contests where South Carolina just really, really struggled, right? And defense, especially over the last month or so, showed itself. It's funny. If we could do the grades for just the first 40 games, I think South Carolina just aces it across the board. But that's not the case. The last 18 or so, 20 or so, what have you, they count. And they count just as much as that first 40. And for that reason, again, the inconsistencies, it was a little bit of you never knew what you were going to get. And there were certainly ball games where defense hurt South Carolina and cost South Carolina a chance to win. For that reason, my grade for the Gamecocks fielding in 2023, a C-. Let's move to the coaching side of things. This one's always a really, really hot topic because you've got some people that think, hey, the coach did a great job fighting adversity. He's the best. And then you've literally got some people saying the coach fumbled the bag. He's terrible. Fire him. There's always this divide, right? I give the coaching a B+. Mark Kingston came into this season on the hot seat. There's no question. He was on the hot seat, right? The pressure was on for Mark Kingston and company to have really a great year. I mean, for most schools making the Super Regionals, being one of the final 16, that's a great season. That's a great season, right? So the pressure was on. And to lead the Gamecocks, first things first, you got to even take it back before this season. You got to take it back to last preseason. After the below 500 finish, the entire fan base is calling for your job, right? And instead of sitting on his hands, Mark Kingston went to work. He hired Monty Lee, which was I don't know if it certainly wasn't highly scrutinized. Was it debated because he was just Clemson's head coach who got fired? Maybe so. I think most felt good about that, though, because of his previous ties in Columbia. You go out and you hire Monty Lee as an assistant, right? You then add players from the transfer portal, Gavin Casas, Will McGillis, Caleb Denny, Dylan Brewer, Jonathan French, guys who played major roles in the Gamecocks' success. Nick Proctor, Chris Veach, guys that played major roles in the Gamecocks' success this season, right? And I think you need to also think about the fact that this group was able to, the coaching staff specifically, not let egos get in the way. That was a big talking point in the preseason, you might recall. How do Mark Kingston and Monty Lee gel? These are two head coaches on the same coaching staff. Will egos clash? Does that spill over to the field? I don't think we ever really felt the effects of that. I think, all in all, it was a success. Then to get off to the start you did, guys, you got to give the coaching credit. Be consistent, right? And what was so funny in the first 40 games, and by the way, when I say coaching, I'm not just talking Kingston, by the way. I'm talking the entire coaching staff. So if you want to give the credit to Monty Lee, fine. What I said throughout the first 40 games, though, was this, and it actually came true in the final 17 or 18 or however many it was, that Monty Lee got all the credit for the first 40 games, right? It's all Monty Lee. It's because of him we're doing this. And I knew in that moment, the second it starts to turn bad, Monty Lee's getting all the credit right now, but he won't get all the blame. It'll be Mark Kingston that'll fall on the sword. And sure enough, guess what? It was Mark Kingston, just as I expected. And the final 4 weeks, guys, the final month was nothing short of atrocious. And it felt like one of the greatest collapses that we had ever seen, right? For Carolina to go from ranked third in the country all the way to unranked was a slide, I would say, similar to the last time we saw something like this was the 2007 football season when the Gamecocks started 6-1, were sixth in the country, and then fell out of the top 25, lost their final 5 games, and did not even go to a bowl game in that season, right? That was a collapse as well. But you have to also, while you come at Mark Kingston, this coaching staff with a slide, you have to give them credit for the way they bounce back. To come back in the regionals, to win the Columbia Regional, to sweep through it and play your best baseball or get back to playing your best baseball, guiding the Gamecocks to a super regional, guiding the Gamecocks your first 40-plus win season. And so were there still questionable decisions? Sure. But I give credit where credit's due. Mark Kingston met the minimum expectations to return next season. Mark Kingston met the expectations that were set out for him in the preseason when the pressure was on. And I can respect that, and I give a lot of credit to that. I thought Justin Parker had an okay season. The pitching staff needs to take another step. I really do truly believe that. Now, the numbers were good, but I'm talking specific guys, Will Sanders, some others that maybe just did not live up to expectations. Will Sanders being the big one. The numbers were good there. Monty Lee, I think we all felt the impact of that, the changes to the approach, if you will, right? And then Scott Wingo. Love Scott Wingo, what he brings to Gamecocks baseball. Sometimes it's a bit of an adventure over there. When he's sending guys, holding guys, whatever it might be, you just never know what Coach Wingo is going to do. But all in all, I give the coaching a B+. I think it was solid for Kingston and company to keep this team's spirits high even when the slump, the final month was happening, and to go into that regional with the right mindset to sweep through that and advance to the supers. That was a job well done to overcome adversity. So again, my grade for the Gamecocks coaching in 2023, a B+, which brings me to my overall grade. And I feel the need to point this out because I catch flack for it every single time. Guys, this is not one of those report cards where it's like, okay, I got to average all these things. What does this equate to? That's not how this report card works, especially, guys, when you think about it, the game of baseball. You can be a C team across the board and be elite at nothing, but the intangibles in baseball and the baseball gods and Uncle Mo, and it's why you're able to see a team like an Oral Roberts or see a team that is a Cinderella story make it to the final, right? Because sometimes things happen in baseball that go beyond comprehension. So it's not as simple as crunching these numbers and spitting out an end result, because you got to think about what were the expectations. Were they met? Were they not met? You got to think about the intangibles and things that go beyond numbers, if you will, right? So when I look at South Carolina, 34-6 start, ranked third in the country. The Gamecocks at one point, you could argue, were the best team in all of college baseball. Then the slump happened. The final month or so where South Carolina lost their final 4 SEC series and fell all the way out of the D1 baseball top 25. Then South Carolina rebounded. After only winning 1 game in Hoover, they go into the Columbia Regional, sweep through it. And South Carolina advances to the Supers for the first time since 2018. The Gamecocks went over 40 games, the final record sitting, although a disappointing result in Gainesville. A disappointing result, no doubt. Just 2 wins shy of Omaha, a 42-21 overall record, 16-13 in SEC play, and the Columbia Regional champions. You factor all that in, guys, I graded the Gamecocks 2023 baseball season as a whole at an A-. I grade out Omaha as an A, and winning the national title as an A+. You made it to the Supers. You were 2 wins shy. I give you an A-, and I know some people will look at that and say, you're being too kind. That's too generous. That's too high. Guys, South Carolina, just in this single year sample size, we're not talking about Mark Kingston year 6, season 5, just in this single year sample size, South Carolina had a very good baseball season. Did they achieve the ultimate goal of Omaha that we all so desperately want? No, they did not. They did not. But it does not mean you did not have a good season. South Carolina absolutely had a good season. Was it full of ups and downs? It sure as shit was. It absolutely was, excuse my French. And that's baseball. It happens. It's a roller coaster from time to time. Is it a disappointing result to a degree because of the ball club that you had at the point when you were 34-6? Yes. Yes, because I think at that point, if you would have told Gamecock fans, hey, you're 34-6, you just swept Florida, but get this, you're not going to go to Omaha. I mean, that would have been a massively disappointing reality to accept. But when you're able to take a step back, we've had a couple of days now, take a deep breath and look back on the season. Look at what South Carolina overcame. Look at the positives that came from this season. I think it's hard for me, at least, to look at this season and say, wow, this season was just a major disappointment. So when you factor all that in, guys, again, I give the Yardcocks in the 2023 baseball season an overall grade of an A-. So again, running through these one more time for South Carolina baseball this season, I grade the pitching at an A. I grade the hitting at a B-. I grade the fielding at a C-. I grade the coaching at a B+. And I give the overall grade for the Yardcocks this season an A-. Guys, that being said, let's jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, we're going to keep the conversation rolling here on this Tuesday, June the 13th. Guys, you're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Macho Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in here on this Tuesday. It's officially official. Brett Thomas has entered the transfer portal over 4 seasons at South Carolina. He made 24 appearances and went 1-1 with a 5.35 ERA in Columbia. So not really surprising. A guy, Brett Thomas, that, was not featured a ton, did not pitch a lot. So I totally understand he wants to go somewhere for his last year of collegiate baseball where he can get some action. He can pitch a little bit and, he can pursue his, because it's crazy, guys. You have guys at South Carolina that are throwing 96 miles an hour that are just on the bench, not pitching. So don't blame him at all. Hey, I understand completely. It's going to be a crowded bullpen yet again next season, and wish him nothing but the best. But guys, with that being said, we are continuing along, with the season being concluded. Drum roll, please. The 2023 Yardcocks postseason award show is officially here as we hand out some hardware to the top performers of the 2023 season. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it and start with our Hoorah Award, which goes to the top hitter. And the reason, the naming of the award, guys, of course, as you all know, the prop that South Carolina used this season because of their trip to Fort Jackson and what they did in the offseason. They had the Army helmet, right? So the Hoorah Award for the top hitter on South Carolina's team. This one is not a surprise, and guys, you will hear his name more than a couple of times in this award show. Ethan Petrie, who hit .376, 23 home runs, 75 RBI. Again, guys, one of the best hitters in all of college baseball, set freshman records at South Carolina for both home runs and RBI. He was absolutely electric, and again, guys, you will hear his name again, I can assure you, throughout the rest of this show. So again, with an average of .376, 23 homers, and 75 RBI, the winner of our Hoorah Award, the top hitter for the Yardcocks this season, goes to Ethan Petrie. Let's move into the Michael Roth Award, which, as you can imagine, goes to the pitcher of the year. And I talked about him earlier in the show as someone that exceeded expectations, but I had high expectations, admittedly, for this kid. A straight-up battler, a bulldog, somebody who loves the University of South Carolina. I would say embodies what it means to be a Gamecock after not pitching last year, right? Going through the adversity, dealing with the injury, trying to be a two-way guy. Just wanted to do anything he could to help South Carolina a season ago. To see him back on the mound where he truly belongs, it was such a sight to see. And the winner of the Michael Roth Award for the 2023 season, none other than right-handed pitcher Jack Mahoney. His stats, 7-4 with a 4.16 ERA overall, but he did his best work in SEC play, 4-2 with a 4.04 ERA against the best competition in all of college baseball. And guys, what really stands out about Jack's season is that every time it seemed, especially down the stretch, every time that South Carolina needed a big start, backs against the wall, down 0-1 in a series, Jack Mahoney gave them a chance, and most of the time they won the ball game. I mean, you think about this, guys. South Carolina was on the verge of not hosting. They were on the edge. Think about if Jack Mahoney doesn't step up in those moments, right? Going from the Game 3 slot to the Game 2 slot early in the year. But think about if he does not rise to the occasion. You know, it was a couple of wins, really 2 or 3 wins, that would have been the difference between South Carolina hosting and the Gamecocks having to go on the road. Jack Mahoney was that dude this year, start to finish, consistent. And again, when you do your best work in SEC play, you had one hell of a season. So again, our winner of the Michael Roth Award, the pitcher of the year for the Gamecocks, it goes to Jack Mahoney. Let's move into our Scott Wingo Award, which goes to the best fielder. And this is the only repeat winner of any award on this list. And I was going down the list, guys, of all the fielders on this team and all the great plays made this year and sort of just reminiscing on what took place. But this is what really stood out to me. This man had 85 putouts, did not make a single error all season long. That is unheard of. That is absolutely unheard of. And you think about the ground that he covered in the outfield, was an asset for South Carolina defensively. Did he struggle swinging the stick? A bit, a little bit. But it was no secret the type of defender he was in the outfield, one of the best in the SEC at covering ground, and the winner of our Scott Wingo Award for best fielder in the 2023 season goes to none other than Evan Stone. Again, while the offensive numbers, and that'll be an area, of course, he looks to grow and improve, there is no question about his defense. I mean, this guy was all over the place, covering the field. I mean, good luck. Good luck. 2/3 of the world is covered by water. The other third is covered by Evan Stone, right? That's really what it felt like. And Evan Stone, some of the great plays he made out there. I mean, really the one that stands out that really summarizes Evan Stone, the type of ball player he is in the SEC tournament. When he runs into the wall, no regard for his body at all. Did not complete the catch, but that just really goes to show you. It went to show you the type of dirtbag player he is, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. So, the winner of the Scott Wingo Award for the best fielder, it goes to outfielder Evan Stone. Let's move into the Matt Price Award, which is given to the best reliever of the year. Another transfer portal addition, and someone that, guys, before the season, I'm not really sure that I had on my radar all that much. But my, oh my, was he fantastic. And that changeup he featured, one of the filthiest pitches in college baseball. That thing was absolutely delicious. He went 2-1 with a 3.46 ERA and 6 saves for the Gamecocks. And honestly, some of the best memories of this season are with him on the bump. You think back to clinching the series sweep against Florida, him trash talking the Gators. You think to some other the other big moments he had on the mound. The winner of the Matt Price Award, our reliever of the year, right-handed pitcher Chris Veach. And again, it was always fun. Enter Veach when Veach came in. He sort of became like his own personality this year, right? It was one of those things we all looked forward to. Chris Veach trotting out of the bullpen and just that swag, that moxie. He embodied I think the overall attitude of a closer. He embodied what a closer is. Maybe not by his stature, maybe not even by his fastball, but by his moxie, by his swag, by his edge on the mound. So again, our Matt Price Award winner, the reliever of the year, goes to Chris Veach. Let's move into the Braden Webb Award, given to the freshman of the year. And you might recall Braden Webb back in 2016, I believe it was, featured one of the best seasons ever in school history. I think he still holds the record for strikeouts in a season for a freshman. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, guys, you were going to hear his name again. And so this one, well, it's no secret. I mean, it's no secret at all. The winner of the Braden Webb Award, the freshman of the year, goes to Ethan Petrie. Again, hit 376, 23 bombs, 75 ribby. I mean, guys, who else could it have gone to? Really, truly, who else could it have gone to? I mean, this dude was incredible. There's no other way to put it. Ethan Petrie was for a while truly the best, not just the best freshman in college baseball, the best player in college baseball. Now, he hit his growing pains down the stretch, what have you, then came back fire late in the season. But, there were some other decent freshman performances, don't get me wrong, but Ethan Petrie, man, I mean, this is a no-brainer, and I don't think anybody is going to argue this one. So, again, the winner of the Braden Webb Award given to the freshman of the year goes to Ethan Petrie. Let's move into Slapdick of the year. And this is one that I went back and forth on because there are different options out there, many different options. Unfortunately, over the course of a baseball season, there are many candidates who arise. But this one's a little bit personal for me, as you can imagine, and I'm going to roll with this one. Again, many candidates to choose from. But it makes me change the award from Slapdick of the Year to Slapdicks of the Year, plural, because it's multiple people. My Slapdicks of the Year, as you all know, guys, and we've had conversations on this show, changes to content, changes to the way that we attack things with content. Translation, my not going to games after going to every single game in 2020, in 2021, and 2022. My Slapdicks of the Year goes to the group of Gamecock burners on Twitter that somehow, some way, out of nowhere, fabricated a rumor that yours truly was banned from Founders Park this season. I don't think I need to go into any more detail, say anything else. I don't even know how the rumor started, really, truly. But it's one of the funnier things I've ever seen. It's one of the more absurd things I've ever seen. And I don't know what's funnier, the thought that the University of South Carolina could actually do such a thing, or the thought that if they did such a thing, that me, as someone who does not depend or lean on the University of South Carolina for anything, right, is not on USC's payroll, is not dependent upon them for anything, as I mentioned, the thought that yours truly would just stay quiet and not say anything about it and not put USC on blast for the decision. All in all, one of those just hilarious rumors that catches fire, and the burners on Gamecock Twitter, the Carolina Slapdick community has their way with it. And so while there were plenty of candidates on the field this season, my Slapdicks of the Year, Gamecock burners, for really not even just, just Gamecock burners as a whole. Gamecock burners, you are the Slapdicks of the Year. Congratulations. Let's move into the Win Anyway Award, which goes to the heart and soul of this South Carolina team in 2023. And guys, if you've been listening to me for longer than 5 minutes, you already know who I'm going with. This dude, to me, I mean, he truly embodied what this award is about. Was the emotional leader on and off the field, was the leader in the clubhouse. The way that he also on the field, by the way, managed the pitching staff, the offensive performance, really bursting on the scene because did not do a lot in 2022 as a true freshman, was one of those dudes who was depended on to have a big season. And he did that and so much more. The winner of the Win Anyway award goes to Cole Messina. And like I said, guys, if you've been listening to me for longer than 5 minutes, you know I've mentioned basically on a weekly basis, hey, this is a big series. This is a big weekend. Look to Cole Messina. He is the leader of this ball club. And he really embodied what a catcher is supposed to be, right? Your catcher is supposed to be your captain. Your catcher is supposed to be your leader. And he embodied every single this team to the heights that they reach. So the winner of the Win Anyway award goes to Cole Messina. Let's get into best moment of the 2023 season, guys, and not to spoil what we have coming on the other side of the next break, because we will talk top 5 moments of this season. But the best moment of the 2023 season, and again, this is one you have multiple options. But I don't know how you can put anything above winning the Columbia Regional, winning a regional on your home field the way in which you did it. While it did lack some dramatics, because honestly, the results were such blowouts in 2 of the 3 games, and really even the second game, you had full control of that game. But to see South Carolina as a 1 seed get postseason baseball back at Founders Park, the energy, the electricity in that building, the buzz around Gamecock Nation that the Yardcocks were quote unquote back, if you will. And then to see South Carolina just dominate through it. I mean, what a weekend. What an electric weekend. And what a great feeling it was to see South Carolina return to what feels like should be a yearly occurrence, hosting regionals, winning regionals, what have you. So for me, guys, my best moment of the 2023 season, winning the Columbia Regional. Our final award, guys, and I've already posted this graphic on social media, so you've probably already seen it. But the Cock Commander, yes, we're bringing this back, the Cock Commander, season MVP of the 2023 baseball season, and I will spare you all the dramatics because you know who it is, and it goes without saying. The winner of the Cock Commander season MVP goes to Ethan Petrie. Again, 376 overall, 23 home runs, 75 RBI. How about these stats in SEC play for a true freshman? 359, 13 home runs, and 42 RBI against the best pitching college baseball has to offer. Led the Gamecocks across the board, set multiple records. Really, I would say, carried this offense through the first 5 or so SEC series, through the first half of the SEC schedule. And Ethan Petrie, one of the most electric players in college baseball this season. And guys, just to give you even more perspective, just how valuable was he for South Carolina? Guys, we're talking about a player that his final home run in an SEC weekend came against Florida in late April. He did not homer the rest of the year in any SEC series, including the Super Regionals. And guess what happened? South Carolina didn't win a single one of them. That's how valuable Ethan Petrie was, swinging the stick and his presence in the lineup. That's how valuable he was for the Gamecocks. So again, our Cock Commander, season MVP, goes to Ethan Petrie. And with that being said, congratulations to all of our winners. Congratulations to all of those hoisting the hardware. And we're looking forward to yet another fantastic season in 2024. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into another break. On the side, we're going to keep the conversation rolling here on this Tuesday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Going to appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. And let me say this, guys. I love each and every single one of you. I truly do. You know, that's the thought I had over the break is like, if you stop and you're in the present moment, but you also think outside of the present moment and say, nothing is forever, right? I'm so grateful to be doing this right now. Like, I'm so truly grateful and thankful. And I'm so grateful that there are those out there that find value in this and that you allow me to be part of your day, to be part of your routine in some instances. I cannot say thank you enough. There's a reason I express gratitude daily, and it's because I'm so thankful from the bottom of my heart that we get to do this because this is so much fun for me. I know you guys get value out of it, but selfishly for me, I love it. I truly, genuinely love that we have this outlet to come together and share our love and our passion for sports and for the Gamecocks and for everything else. So again, thank you all so much. Thank you to those who rock with TSUS, rock with everything we do, because without your love and support, TSUS would not be what it is, what it's becoming. And so, again, I cannot say thank you enough. With that being said, guys, we're going to keep the conversation rolling as we really close the book, I would say, on the 2023 baseball season, because we've given thoughts on what happened over the weekend. We've given thoughts on what happened as a whole. We've done awards. We've done report card. Now it's time. Let's look back our fond memories of the Yardcocks in 2023. My top 5 best moments of the Gamecocks 2023 baseball season. And thankfully, guys, this was a list that it was tough to narrow down to 5 moments, right? Compared to last year, 2022, where I don't even know if there were 2 or 3 that were best moments of that season, but a ton to choose from. A great season for South Carolina. And we'll start with number 5. The Gators, no match for the Gamecocks at Founders Park. And I understand this one's a little bit tough to celebrate right now because what just happened a couple of days ago. But if you can take yourself back to that moment, the narrative was always, is South Carolina really legit? Florida's got this 3-headed monster on the mound. They're the best thing. They're the best team in the SEC. What's South Carolina going to do? And for the Gamecocks to not just win the series, not even just sweep, but to dominate, starting with that run rule victory on that Thursday night, which, by the way, we watched it at Carolina Ale House Fort Mill. Shout out to my Gamecocks that were there. We thoroughly enjoyed that game together. And then the events that took place on Friday night and Saturday, I would argue the most fun weekend of the 2023 baseball season, and one that surely none of us will ever forget. Pure domination, start to finish. And it was at that moment, guys, I think this stands out and is in the top 5 because it was at that moment that we all looked around and said, is this a dream? Is this really happening? We are 34-6 right now. Are we the best team in college baseball? And at that point, guys, here's the great thing. At that point, South Carolina was the best team. And so for a moment, we had that glory. We had that feeling. And it was all because of the events of that weekend. So again, at number 5, the Gators, no match for the Gamecocks at Founders in the regular season series sweep. At number 4, you have to go back to the beginning of the SEC slate. It looked as if South Carolina was headed for their first SEC loss, coming, by the way, on the home field. And in improbable fashion, late inning dramatics stole game 1 against the Missouri Tigers. Guys, you might recall South Carolina was down 3 or 4 runs? And the Gamecocks made it all the way back. That was one of the more exhilarating ball games that I've watched in recent memory for South Carolina. I mean, it took you back to 2021 when Colin Burgess hit the walk-off in the 14 inning, I think it was, thriller against the Florida Gators at Founders. It reminded you of that. And it had that feeling, I'll say, early on that, you know what, maybe this is going to be a special season. Like if things like this are happening, feels a lot like 2010, feels a lot like 2011, feels a lot like 2012. And sure enough, the rest is history. So at number 4, the late inning dramatics that stole game 1 against Missouri. Coming in at number 3, the best rivalry in all of college baseball did not disappoint early in this season. And surprisingly, the Clemson Tigers took game 1 at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. And it looked as if South Carolina was headed for a series loss in the rivalry yet again. But the Gamecocks would not be denied at Fluor Field. Carson Hornung, and I know what's interesting, right? He turned out not to be much of a factor over the last half of the season or so, but had one of the biggest swings of the bat in the 2023 season, that being the home run over the right field fence at Fluor Field. You then think of Cole Messina's towering shot over the Green Monster in Greenville. And Carolina came all the way back to take game 2, and of course, which led to game 3 at Founders Park. And there was never a doubt that South Carolina was going to take that game and in turn that series. One of the more exhilarating results, and when it comes against the arch rival, it has to make the list at number 3 when the Cardiac Cocks took down the Clemson Tigers in Greenville, South Carolina. At number 2 on this list, you're thinking to yourself, what could be ahead of taking down the arch rival 2 out of 3, especially when it comes in comeback fashion? And I know that, the beauty of these lists, guys, is that our top 5 moments, they'll differ, right? Based off your personal experience, if you were at a certain game or you were at a certain event or what have you, right? Or just what you prefer. For some of you, taking 2 of 3 from Clemson, it might be number 1 for you. I have no idea. But for me, a number 2 on this list, and we watched this game at Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road in Greenville, South Carolina. And entering the LSU weekend, it was a weekend in which we're going to, we felt like, all right, we're going to find out what South Carolina is all about, right? The big bad LSU Tigers, the Bayou Bengals, number 1 team in all of college baseball is coming to town. Big bad Paul Skeens throwing 102 miles per hour. Nobody could hit this dude. And then he met Ethan Petrie. And South Carolina's offense exploded. Paul Skeens was no match for the Yardcocks in game 1 as South Carolina went on to, I believe, wasn't it a run rule game? To run rule the LSU Tigers, to take them down in dramatic fashion in a blowout game 1 win. Now, the second game of that series somewhat spoiled our feelings a bit. That game 1, man, that was the moment for me, guys, when I remember saying to myself, and I think I said to you all as well, is this real? I mean, I felt like it was a surreal experience watching South Carolina do what they were doing, because I think for me at that season, it had not clicked just how good Carolina was. And they proved it in that night against one of the best pitchers in all of college baseball. So at number 2, Paul Skeens, no match for the Yardcocks in game 1 of Carolina LSU. Which finally, guys, brings me to my best moment of the 2023 season. And I don't think there's anything better than what South Carolina did in the postseason, getting postseason baseball back at Founders Park for the first time as a 1 seed, since I believe 2016. It had been that long since the Gamecocks hosted as a 1 seed, and South Carolina ran through the regional with no problem on their way to being Columbia Regional champions. That weekend start to finish was electric. The atmosphere was incredible. And for South Carolina to rightfully return to that place of hosting postseason baseball, of being a regional host, there is nothing like postseason baseball in Columbia, South Carolina. And I am so happy that we all got to experience that. And for that reason, it is the top moment, in my opinion, of this season. The Gamecocks being Columbia Regional champions. So again, my top 5 best moments of the Gamecocks 2023 baseball season. Number 5, the Gamecocks the Gators, no match for the Gamecocks at Founders Park in late April. At number 4, the late inning dramatics that stole game 1 against Mizzou. At number 3, the Cardiac Cocks taking down Clemson and Greenville. At number 2, Paul Skeens being no match for South Carolina in game 1 of the Gamecocks and LSU. And at number 1, Carolina winning the Columbia Regional at Founders Park. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into another break. We got JC Sherbert of the Big Spur on the other side. Really excited to talk with JC. A lot to get into. All that and more on the other side of the break. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Do not forget, we've got our Q&A Power Hour upcoming after JC Sherbert, who will join us in just a couple of minutes. Again, guys, thank y'all so much for the continued love and support. In case you missed it earlier today, right-handed pitcher Brett Thomas has entered the transfer portal. He made 24 appearances, going 1-1 with a 5.35 ERA in 4 seasons at South Carolina. Also, though, the Gamecocks pick up a commitment from Liberty transfer left-handed pitcher Garrett Gainey. Gainey registered a 4-3 record with a 7.28 ERA for the Flames this past season. If I was Garrett Gainey, or if I had any piece of advice for Garrett Gainey, I would tell him to stay off of social media because this kid is getting cooked on Twitter. And it's not really fair that he is, but my God, people on Twitter are just ruthless. I mean, just flat out ruthless, coming at him about his stats and what have you, whatever. But hey, it is what it is, and people have passion and they choose to express it in different types of ways, and for sure. So, anyways, I don't know. That's yeah. Like I mentioned, guys, we got JC Sherbert upcoming. I see all the questions. We are ready for a big-time Q&A Power Hour. Really, really excited for that. Appreciate my guy, Austin Gregory, who has been flooding the comment section with all of his questions. Thank you, sir. And also, of course, all those in the Big Cock Club Discord. Our guy Brendan is testing different – I don't know what he's at work doing something. I have no idea. Either way, though, Brendan, appreciate you tuning in as well. Like I mentioned, guys, after this, we'll really start diving into the football side of things tomorrow on tomorrow's TDC, and we'll kind of close out the baseball season. I think there will still be some news that'll be happening in regards to transfers coming in, transfers leaving, what have you. But for the most part, for our baseball content, we will put a close to it after today, unless there is any sort of breaking news or what have you. So the countdown will begin to the 2024 baseball season. And, of course, kickoff as well, as we sit just 81 days away, guys. Just 81 days away until South Carolina takes on the Tar Heels in Charlotte, North Carolina. Really exciting stuff. Again, guys, thank y'all so much. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Our countdown videos are having massive success, and I appreciate y'all. And really, really exciting, man. Again, it's exciting to wake up and do that every single day because it lets me know as well that, hey, kickoff is creeping closer and closer and closer, and it will be here before you know it. So again, guys, we're getting JC Sherbert in here in just a second. Airting Ivory says, this team making the supers and being eliminated is about like us reaching the SEC title and going no further. I guess you can equate it to that to a degree. I guess you can equate it to that for sure. No doubt. Again, guys, got some really exciting things we're working on behind the scenes. So I appreciate you all, your patience, your love, your support. Also, over the next couple of weeks, I would say, we'll be changing into a new studio. So that's really exciting. This background, this display back here will change. The way that you view me, it will also change. So I'm looking forward to that. Really, really excited for it. Exciting stuff. And, yeah, can't wait for you guys to see the new setup and the new studio and everything else that we have going on. With that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get him in here. He joins us each and every single Tuesday, and we always enjoy the conversation with JC Sherbert of Inside the Gamecocks of the Big Spur. JC, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, great. So you're getting new digs, man. That's nice. Happy for you.
Yeah,
That's
upgrading,
awesome.
man. Yeah, upgrading some new digs, man. So it'll be a little bit of a different layout. You know, I'm somebody, I like to change up the studio in the background and just change up the look, if you will, just keep things fresh or what have you. But it'll be a work in progress as it always is, which is the fun part. But my friend, again, I appreciate you taking the time. How was your weekend? How was everything? Obviously, we're going to get in the details of what happened over the weekend, some other things happening right now as well. But what's the latest on JC Sherbert's side of things?
Yeah, I sat there on Saturday, and I thought, Friday was a heavyweight battle. Just didn't go the Gamecocks' way. Lots of things, the game kind of turned on 3 plays really. The the double play with the bases loaded obviously was huge. The phantom interference call with Wimmer, which was awful. And then Will Sanders made one mistake right there in a close game. So it's kind of a heavyweight fight. 5-4 goes either way. I think with Florida, having watched them through the years, they're at their best when they've got momentum. And they know they can get out and beat you. They're at their worst when you sort of get to them a little bit, and then they kind of press or get down. I mean, it's a kind of a weird phenomenon with them. So heading into Saturday, you think the Gamecocks would respond, and they just ran into a buzzsaw with Waldrop. I mean, I sat there, gosh, third, fourth inning on, and told my fiance, we were sitting out on the porch grilling and watching the game. I was just like, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the rest of the season because and I wasn't being like negative fan. That guy was just sick. Waldrop was sick. I mean, you'd sit there and you'd watch the ball go towards the catcher's mitt. It would break 3 feet in the dirt, swing and miss, or break in there when you played the game. I mean, when these guys are on like that, then you're not really seeing the ball that well. That's difficult to be patient at the plate, or that patient or that kind of eye to get to him. So, yes, hats off to the Gators. I think anytime a season comes to an end when it's baseball with college, it's extra sad because it's the end of the school sports year, right? Mm-hmm. We kind of go into this no Gamecock sports until football and start talking football to death, right? And so that's a little sad. Big picture-wise, though, I think Carolina had a resurgent season. They improved 15 games. They won 66% of the 2/3 of their games all year. They got to a super regional. And so a lot of people after the Florida loss wanted a coaching change or whatever. And look, I thought after last year, you could make a very strong case for it. But when the decision's made to bring him back and get all these portal guys, and then you have the kind of year you do, and then you've got a lump of players coming back off this year's team that have had success that probably will have a bad taste in their mouth about that super regional showing and come back focused. And, guys like Messina and Petrie, those guys don't like to lose. I mean, it bothers them. Probably more so than a lot of players that have been through this program the last 10 years, to be honest. When you talk about competitiveness and desire. And so they're back. There's a lot of other guys back. I think South Carolina is going to do a good job in the portal, getting some other pieces. They've already started that. And so, hey, there you go. I think, I don't necessarily believe this season bought Mark Kingston anything more than next season. And I say that, with respect and, applauding the job he did this year. And I think he'd probably agree with me. You can't backslide. You can't say, oh, well, they peaked with the great run of the super regionals in 2023 and just going to go back to being little old South Carolina. And this is South Carolina baseball. So the idea I think would be, and I have some faith they can do this, is to go load up in the portal, get your guys back, try to, if there is something that was causing the injuries, try to fix that, stay healthy next year and make a run. Cause I think this team on paper absolutely can. And so that's kind of my long-term view of things, as far as all that goes, with baseball. But yeah, there's some sadness anytime the baseball season ends, just because of where it falls in the calendar. And you just kind of know, well, next Gamecock sporting event that you're looking at is probably going to be the one that everybody is following or whatever. It'll be North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium in September. So.
No, JC, I echoed that yesterday on our show that, when the baseball season ends, it's one of those things where you've invested so much of yourself into practically every game, every pitch for months on end. And it's just all of a sudden comes to this abrupt end, obviously. And some of these guys that you grew so fond of, that you watched every single day practically, some of them you'll never see in Garnet and Black again. And so I think that's what's really tough to stomach, tough to grasp. And really the only way you don't get that sad feeling is if you win your last game and you win it all and you take home the hardware. So, to your point, JC, though, I agree. And I know Kingston echoed this as well. They ran into a buzzsaw. I don't think anybody in the country would have beaten Hurst and Waldrop on Saturday. And I just, JC, honestly, it's why I picked Florida to win the series, because I felt like as good. It's not a knock on South Carolina. It's just like when you've got to travel and go on the road to Florida's field with their fan base and their backing, they got their pitchers on their bump, their hitters in a place they love to swing it. And, you were going to have to play your A-plus game, I think, to take down Florida. And I'll be honest, to beat Hurst and Waldrop, it may have taken even more than that. So, JC, now that it's all said and done, right, we've had a couple of days to process things, and you kind of just touched on it. But, and I do agree with you. I thought the energy from some calling for Mark Kingston's job was interesting, at least for me. Like the expectations that we set in the preseason were super regionals or bust. Well, he met that. And we all knew this was a pivotal year. This was a big year. And I do agree with you. You can't get complacent. You can't say, well, we reached the pinnacle. We all know that this is not the pinnacle for South Carolina baseball. But, back to the 2023 season, now that we've had a couple of days, JC, when you look back on it, how do you view the season as a whole? Was it a season in which you felt like they met expectations, they exceeded expectations, fell short of expectations? Because I will say this, I can understand how some folks would be disappointed when you look back at the fact that South Carolina at one point was 34-6, and they were ranked third in the country, and you could have argued they were the best team in all of college baseball. And so I just wonder what's going to be remembered from this season. And I think unfairly, it might be the slide in the last month, which, JC, it felt like a collapse similar to what like the 2007 football team went through when they started 6-1 and were ranked 6th in the country and literally lost their last five games in a row, didn't go to a bowl game. So anyways, like when you look back on 2023, what's going to stand out to you? And would you label the 2023 season as a success?
I think it's a I don't want to say a bare minimum standard, because obviously this team needs to be in the NCAA tournament every year. I think that's the bare minimum standard, but it was an average good year around here. I think it's troubling in some ways when you look and see that since Ray Tanner stopped being the coach, the Gamecocks are 2-8 in super regional games, whereas they used to very rarely. I don't think they ever got swept, and then they did some sweeping on their own. But if that's something that sticks with me, it's more of a long-term trend, kind of worrisome trend sort of deal. And I think, look, when you talk about expectations, preseason expectations, absolutely, they met them and probably surpassed them. Mid-year expectations, absolutely not. A lot of that had to do with injuries, a lot of it, and having to mix and match the lineup. I think that had they not done what they did in the regional, and I've heard some crazy talk about, they got a very favorable regional. Yeah, a lot of teams do. Are we going to throw back the Connecticut Super Regional a few years ago because Clemson didn't make it? You didn't have to play Clemson. We're going to throw that one back, right? How about that time in the regional that Liberty put Clemson out and you didn't have to play them? You want to throw that one back? Come on. That happens in baseball all the time. You don't always play. The draw is the draw. And NC State had a hot night against Campbell. Campbell's bats came alive all of a sudden. So, I think what they did in the regional was great. They got off the schneid. They went down. They battled it in one game. Got shut out in another against a great team. So did they meet the expectations we probably all had in the midseason? No, but that's part of being at a program like South Carolina. When you start 34-6, they're third in the country. Whereas in 2000, for a program that hadn't been to Omaha in 15 years and had struggled since joining the SEC to even get to the tournament, that everybody's going gaga and crazy. This is great, super. But now, you've got national championship banners, and okay, so that's going to raise the expectations. You know, you start that, you get third in the country, everybody's thinking Omaha. People are making reservations, and rightfully so. Those are the expectations of this baseball program. What I get to, though, and what I want to give Mark Kingston credit for, you know, this guy had last season with the losing season, and I'm not excusing any losing season under any circumstances. The sort of the DNA of this program is win anyway. But you kind of look back on last year, they didn't have a lot of good players. Everybody's hurt. They had no pitchers. They really rarely got swept. They battled. They fought. You know, it just wasn't going to work out. And so you get to 34-6, you're riding high. Everybody's giving you praise and stuff like that. You're hitting the ball a lot better. You're pitching really well. You may be the best team in college baseball. And then the bottom drops out. Because of what they went through last season, it would have been easy for Mark Kingston to probably let some self-doubt creep in on his own, maybe start to press a little bit. I'll tell you this, based on what I know from some contacts inside the program, he's a different coach today than he was 2 years ago. He's more relaxed, laid back, not as uptight. I think he's realized, hey, you know, this generation of dudes, we can't be rigid. Rigidness does not always pay off. He kept it fun. He kept it light, and he kept this team focused. That's what a head coach does. I mean, your hitting coach is hitting, your pitching coach is pitching. And I think this is a direct quote from him when we had him on the show. You know, the head coach, his job is to sit there and help recruit and get guys in there and get players in there and to manage the team and to keep the teams take on the personality of their coach. So I thought, you know, keeping the players from throwing in the towel, you know, keeping the sulking from happening. You heard it in the post game after every loss. Cole Messina, Jack Mahoney, those guys. Hey, we're keeping it positive. I think he deserves credit for that because that's what good head coaches do. That, you know, it's not so much that bad things happen; it's how you respond. And a bad head coach will let it snowball. A good head coach will get his team up off the mat, and I think that's what he did. But, you know, that's a long way of saying that is this a Gamecock baseball team that we're all going to look back on in a few years and say, oh, my God, that team was so great. I miss those guys so much. If only we could be that good again. I hope not, because those aren't the expectations. But and that's the negative part of it is you can't backslide. But the positive part of it is maybe this is the team that we all look back on and say these guys got it turned around and got the ship pointed in the right direction, so you can continue to build, continue to get back to that place which you want to be, which is Omaha, Nebraska this time of year.
Now, JC, you mentioned the transfer portal, and roster turnover is inevitable, right, in college sports, especially with the way the transfer portal is. Gamecocks infielder Michael Braswell, right-handed pitcher Brett Thomas, they have both entered the portal. Also, South Carolina yesterday picking up a commitment from Liberty transfer left-handed pitcher Garrett Gainey. Your overall thoughts on those? And, I mean, do you expect – how much more roster turnover do you expect in the portal via additions, via departures? And did the Braswell departure surprise you at all based off of what you had heard?
Yes and no. Mid-season, I think it was a given that he was gone. Things kind of turned a little bit, and then he was talking about staying in housing and stuff like that for the summer and coming back. And so like he was coming back. But then for the last couple of weeks, it's like he was gone again. Braswell wants to play shortstop. Okay. So I don't think that the coaches were in a position, and probably rightfully so, to guarantee him he was going to be the shortstop next year. That's just being honest with your players. I think he's a good player. I think he's been one of the more consistent performers the last couple of years. I hate to see him go. Do I think the Gamecocks can replace him? Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt about it. But that was one of those things, Chris. Is like it's kind of like the season. It was a surprise, then it wasn't a surprise. Now it's a surprise again, that kind of thing. It's like, you're going to Omaha, you're not going to Omaha. Oh, this is okay, that kind of thing. As far as Brett Thomas, my understanding is he just wants to go someplace he can pitch. Probably didn't project to pitch that much. The kid they got from, was it Liberty, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Garrett Gainey, the lefty, yeah.
They need left-handed arms.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you can ask me to evaluate a football player, and I can tell you. Baseball, I'm not an evaluator. I just kind of repeat what I hear from people that know. I was told don't let the ERA, it's really high, fool you. A lot of pitchers had high ERAs this year in college. Teams only hit 277 against him. And they just need left-handed arms, and they're kind of at a premium right now. So I'd say that's a good pickup. As far as outgoing guys in the portal, Chris, I think you're maybe looking at one or two more, but nobody significant. I mean, the draft is going to be the big thing. And I don't know that there's really anybody even on the fence with the draft. Maybe Gavin Casas is somebody you look at that could stay. Just a bit, everybody's back. I do think Carolina will end up with 10 plus from the portal incoming. They have some holes to fill. They filled some of those holes. They're going after talent upgrades. And if they can really solidify things, I think with the guys they have returning back, if they gel and, they can avoid some of these unfortunate injuries, especially on the mound, because, you have older pitchers that are departing. That position kind of gets a little thinner. Then you can have Carolina can have a special season next year. So that's what the hope is. But, as far as who exactly is coming and who will go elsewhere, that's kind of all still up in the air a bit in terms of specifics. But just based on kind of the broad, the broad amount of talent that's been mentioned to me, I think they have a chance to have a really good portal haul and really solidify this thing.
So, JC, you mentioned the MLB draft with decisions being made. So does it sound like then that Will Sanders, James Hicks, and I think Jack Mahoney's the big one that I was kind of like, I wonder what his decision-making will be. Does it sound like those guys are probably going to take the next step and pursue professional baseball? Or do you think there's still decisions to be made there as well?
I think Sanders and Hicks are both gone. With Mahoney, I'd say 85% gone. I suppose like last year, Braylon Wimmer was probably 85% gone at this point too. But guys that have had that Tommy John surgery that are pitchers, and I think Jack now knows that's his ticket in baseball. If he wants to play in the pros is pitching. You have a shelf life with your arm. And, I think if your dream's to go play and make it to the show, MLB, it's probably time to start on that. And you don't really want to go back and risk anything, I think, with your arm. Position players, it's more a lot of times about money, slot value, things like that. But, the only two big names that wouldn't be a complete shock if they came back to me would be Mahoney, but I wouldn't call it likely. And then Wimmer, you never know. Braylon Wimmer loves playing college baseball. He got, what would that be, like year 8 for him?
I was about to say it. I didn't know, JC, I didn't know he had another one. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know he had
I think he committed during the Obama administration. I mean, he's,
college baseball's version of Perry Ellis.
Yeah, man, he's there, boy. But so I don't know. I would think, but it's safe to say both those are gone. And it's kind of cool this year, Chris, because you kind of have a demarcation line. These guys drafted, go. These guys, they're not going to get drafted. They probably have not a lot of options to go anyway. They're going to stay. Like I said, Gavin Casas could be a guy that gets drafted and maybe gets above slot, but the indications are, he's probably coming back too. So it's going to be an interesting situation at first base DH next year with him and Jacob Copeland. And then there's another guy that could be in the mix I read about whose name escapes me. So, that'll be fascinating to watch at first base with that battle next fall.
And you mentioned, JC, the shelf life of pitchers and injuries and, kind of taking advantage of the draft when you can. I just kind of wonder what's going through Noah Hall's mind right now after turning down money last year. The draft comes back, hurt the entire year. I mean, I would assume he's gone, right? I mean, I think he's probably still going to get drafted. And I'd have to imagine he takes it, correct? I mean, I think that's pretty much a done deal, or is there, any movement?
It's part of the reason you didn't see him again this year is he is going to get drafted. I think number one, when you're an athlete, even when you're like a human being in general, as we all get older, having issues with your back is debilitating. It can not only derail your athletic, it derail your life. So you got to be extra careful with that. And then number two, I think he did enough this year to where he can get probably more than he got last season. I'd be absolutely stunned if he came back or Will Sanders came back. Those guys are out the door. So, but that's, but it's logical. That's a logical thought that, oh, well, he's injured. So maybe, because that happens in other sports. I just think in his particular situation, knowing what I know, I'd be completely stunned if he came back. But it's certainly did welcome him back with open arms, but I doubt that'll happen.
No, JC, I do agree with you. Hey, let's move from baseball to the recruiting side of things, because as we all know, JC, it's the month of June, which means it's Beamer ball season. It's Shane Beamer season. 3 welcome homes dropped yesterday. One of them, which we know, in the 5-star kicker and punter Mason Love. The other 2 we are unaware of right now, but I think we've got a pretty good indication. 3-star linebacker Fred Johnson's going to announce in a couple of days. So again, we're obviously not trying to spoil any announcements, but basically simultaneously as Shane Beamer tweets the welcome home, that announcement drops, and the Gamecocks have been projected or sit in good standing to get him. Just talk about those 3 welcome homes, JC, what you know about each. Of course, we know Mason Love is official, and then the other 2, if you can project overall thoughts on that. It seems like the recruiting momentum in the month of June is beginning for South Carolina.
Yeah, I think that a few years ago, Will Muschamp called a lot of crap signing a scholarship kicker and scholarship punter in the same class, but boy, that's worked out, right? Kai Kroger and Mitch Jeter have been phenomenal. And I think that when you have a program like South Carolina that emphasizes special teams, not only just emphasizing it under Beamer, but having tangible results in that third part of the game-changing types of results. And it's been everything, Chris, from block kicks to kick returns to punt returns to fakes all over the place. And then, you just had your kind of old-timey field position game and field goal game up at Clemson. The special teams have directly impacted winning and winning in the Beamer era. And so, whereas a few years ago, people were like, why are you going to take a punter? Because when you take a punter or a kicker on scholarship, it screws up your team recruiting ranking. Because they don't rank kickers and punters that high, so it kind of brings down your people like, why do they do this? But I think with the emphasis on it here in this program, Mason Love going and getting top 4 punter in the country, that's pretty awesome, because one day Kai Kroger is going to go, and if there's a punter in the country that could probably go pro early, it'd probably be Kai Kroger. So we'll see. Even if not, you're going to need somebody to eventually take his place. He can't play forever. He's not Braylon Wimmer. And then, so that's one. And I'm glad that they got that done. And I know Coach Limbo's pretty happy about getting that guy. You mentioned Fred Johnson. Is he the number 2 one? Yeah, I can't confirm that totally, but it there is some coincidences there. And I'm going to tell you, a kid like that from what's called the 757, the Tidewater area, Virginia Beach, that's the type of player that Frank Beamer made an absolute living on at Virginia Tech. That area, they've got a lot of great players. It's not that heavily recruited. It's sort of a tight-knit football community, so not just anybody could go in there and get guys. Frank Beamer had the pipeline sort of there, and it's kind of funny because, those kids from 757, they'd all go to Virginia Tech, and they'd drive right through Charlottesville to get there. So that was always kind of interesting. But, that is a part of the country that South Carolina can really do well in. And you look and you saw this kid, he came to campus. He's 6'3", he's 225. He ran 4.45. His broad jump was off the chain. He's got a big wingspan. You watch him on tape. He come off the edge. He plays some receiver. I mean, he's a big time athlete. And you kind of combine him with Wendell Gregory and your Pup Howards and your bigger, longer linebackers. And you kind of start to see now kind of what Clayton White kind of envisions for those two inside linebacker spots at Carolina. And so, I think that if he indeed is the second Oklahoma, we'll find out on Saturday. That's a heck of a pickup. I mean, even if you are a person out there that just loves star ratings and you don't think, anybody can play that's not 4 stars. Our guys at 24/7 Sports immediately rated him 89, which is the highest 3-star you can get, which means he's in the position to possibly move up with a very good senior season. So he is a worthy prospect and certainly somebody Gamecock fans should be excited about. Now, the third one, I'll just say this because this one's probably going to take a little while. I don't anticipate what I guess we're calling it a reveal now. A reveal. The reveal. I think the reveal is probably a little ways away. But I'll say this, Chris, and I found this out while I was doing the show earlier. It's not who everybody thinks it is. And that's all I'll say. And I text you off the air, and I gave you my opinion as to who I thought it was, and I was wrong. So, which is good news because if you think it's that one guy and it's not, then you probably get a guy that's going to make you even happier. And I think they're still getting that one guy. So rest your head peacefully, because it's all going to turn out good for the Gamecocks. But I will say this about that third one. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get that reveal. Am I talking about Xavier McLeod level time? No, but I wouldn't expect anything for a couple of weeks or weeks and some change on that one.
Yeah, you got to love how Shane Beamer really holds us all in suspense because I think Muschamp, when he tweeted Spurs up, it was like as the prospect was announcing, Beamer will just throw it out there the second he gets the word from the player, and it might be months until they say anything. So it just really leaves us in suspense of like, hey, man, it's been 3 months. Like, who was this guy? And I don't know. It's
well, it kind of gives us something to do in the offseason. We're sitting there tracking it, like, how many are they at? Who are we missing? Everybody's making spreadsheets and stuff. Yeah, Muschamp didn't do it until the kid was ready to go public. Yeah, Beamer just does it. But you know what, Chris? There's never been a welcome home that has not publicly committed. Now, there's been some that haven't signed. In other words, they flip or decommit, go to another school, whatever. But they've all come through. I mean, I was a little nervous about last season or last cycle with McLeod because he was the very first welcome home. And people were like, he's going to Georgia. And I'm like, that first welcome home came the day after Georgia had their national championship day celebration. And he was there in Athens. And he came home and committed to Carolina. That has to mean something, but I couldn't say it. I wasn't going to sit there and say it. Right. I mean, I just, it's kind of like my partner on the Big Spur, Tony Morella, does a great job. All his answers, I fully expect him to sign with Carolina. Just copy and paste that answer over and over and over again. But hopefully this is not a McLeod marathon with this one, but it's not going to be like this week, I don't think. So.
JC, I have to ask, it's preseason magazine season. Are you a big preseason magazine guy? And if so, which are your favorites?
I used to be. I still read Phil Steele. I get his magazine when I can. just because it's such a good guide for like names and depth charts and things like that. And we usually have, for those that don't know, I do a regular college football podcast, JC and Morgan with Mike Morgan. Mm-hmm. And we always have Phil on every summer. And he does just such a good job of calling, getting the right information out. I bet his job's infinitely harder in the transfer portal era. But, I'll read that one. The ones I like that are neat to me are Lindy's and Athlon doing the anonymous coach things. I think that's an annual rite of passage for some staffer somewhere. It's like, hey, what are we going to say about Kirby Smart today? All right, well, he's a butthole, whatever. But all those are very interesting reads to me, just because you always, I think when you're covering one team and you're kind of in that vacuum, you like to kind of hear not necessarily what the other media thinks, because I don't really care about all the other teams' media and what they think. I want to hear what the other team's coaches and football people from that side feel, and whether or not that's actually the head coaches or whoever that is. That's somebody inside their building saying something. So I do find that interesting to read. Now, I used to write the recruiting part of it I did it for Lindy's and Sporting News and Street and Smiths while they were still around when I was doing national recruiting. So you guys, it'd be, if you knew when those deadlines were, you'd be like, man, how'd you, because the deadlines were like in May, end of May, end of April, 1st of May. So that was always interesting. But yeah, Phil still would probably be the one I would still go to outside of those, I guess, anonymous stories.
Yeah, definitely love Phil. We've had him on, I think, each of the past 3 summers, I want to say, maybe 4. And it's always a pleasure. I mean, all the stats and analysis you get. And it's, like I said, it's that time of year, JC. We're about to start as we really put a pin in the 2023 baseball season. And we're going to start talking football to death. And I can't wait. One last thing, JC, because somebody hit me up. They said before JC's finished, you need to have him do his Gollum impression from Lord of the Rings, talking about blue chip ratios. What in the world is he talking about? What is this guy talking about?
All right, so my buddy Bud Elliott, he came up with the blue chip ratio, and it's one of those. All right, so the blue chip ratio it's like, okay, all right, the sky is blue. That is a fact. The sky is blue. It's blue. Okay, so we know that. And I always thought, okay, so the teams that actually win the national championship, not improve, not go to the playoff, not play for a national championship, not win a conference title, none of that. The teams that win the national title in college football, which is a hard thing to do, typically have half their rosters made up pretty good recruits, really, you think? Shocking. So I've always thought, I don't dislike the blue chip ratio. I just think it's the biggest Captain Obvious thing in the world. And it's kind of funny because Clemson almost like torpedoed the whole thing, like in 2016, because they were only at 52%. It kind of, you kind of tell on yourself, because I bet if you watch, there's a lag time where teams' blue chip ratios kind of inch up after they have success. I don't know. They kind of recruit the same guys. Anyway. But yeah, I said they hold on to it like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. It's like, my precious blue chip ratio. And then I was like, and they probably gets mad. And I was like, in the defenders of the blue chip, all the media, the that's for the athletic. Oh, my precious, and I bet they're looking over at me because I'm like criticizing it, going, the fat one does not like my precious. And then I said, if I'm going to be one of the hobbits, I don't want to be either one, because I don't like Sean Astin, and I think the other guy is just kind of I don't know, it's not my kind of guy. So keep me out of Lord of the Rings, but I'll gladly take the fat one in that debate, because I just, and look, you can't argue with it. It's like these people, it's like, hey, how are you going to argue with those facts? However, I mean, I'm like, well, that's just kind of all it is. Yeah, okay, that's pretty obvious.
It's another one of those footballisms, JC, that we lean on in the offseason especially. And, It might be the obvious, but we lean on it for sure when talking recruiting and trying to explain things. So
I look at South Carolina like, how close are they or whatever. What's going to be interesting in that, and Bud did address this when he released it this year, is how is the transfer portal going to end up affecting this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because what you're doing, you're just basically hanging on high school rankings. And we're living in a world where South Carolina beat Clemson last year with a transfer from East Tennessee, transfer from Wingate, a transfer from James Madison, all making significant plays. They wouldn't have won the game had it not been for those guys. And I'm counting Jalen Brooks because he caught that ball down that set up that touchdown. But, so it'll be interesting to see how that maybe changes things. But, yeah, of course, the teams that win, over half their players were blue chip recruits. That's, I don't know. It seems to me like, you go back in the day and that you probably trace that on back for a while. And the bottom line is, too, Chris, and I'll end with this. In college football, it's always been haves and have-nots. For every BYU that came out of nowhere in 84 and got voted number one, or Georgia Tech in 90 that shared the title, most years it's your big-time blue chip programs that win. I mean, how many even upsets have there been in the national championship games? Well, Penn State, Miami. Well, Penn State, I bet over half their roster was still blue chips. Who were the underdog? Virginia Tech was an underdog in 99. Like TCU this past year, it's what we saw. So it is hard to win a national championship in this sport. There are very few Cinderellas, but I've just always kind of thought that was just I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for a little more nuance as far as the roster evaluations, other than just a straight 50% cutoff. Mm-hmm. So looking back on it, I wish I hadn't ranked Dun Bolware and Mike Williams 4 stars and just taken the heat. So we wouldn't have a blue chip ratio now if I hadn't done that. Because they were low. They were low on the low 4-star. So.
The teams with the best players win the most. Big if true, JC. Big if true. JC Sherbert of Inside the Gamecocks of the Big Spur. JC, always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll do it again same time next week, and I'll talk to you guys on Thursday on Inside the Gamecocks as well.
Looking forward to you being on, Chris. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, man. Y'all be good. Appreciate it. JC Sherbert, always a blast. And my goodness, that Gollum impersonation, I don't even know what to say about that. Thank you, Chase, for informing me to ask JC. And yeah. So anyways, guys, hey, our Q&A power hour on the other side. Hey, we're going to jump into a quick break on the other side of it. Your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well and excited to jump into our Q&A Power Hour. The phone lines are open, 843-790-3377. We'll take your questions, your comments, your calls as well. You guys can text that number also, or just leave your questions in the YouTube chat, and we will jump right into it. Our friend Austin Gregory threw up a lot of questions this morning. We'll start with this one. What does Shane Beamer have to accomplish at the minimum to be considered for SEC Coach of the Year? Austin, that's a great question. I think minimum for Beamer to win Coach of the Year in the SEC. I think if he's able to get to double-digit wins, I think would guarantee he wins Coach of the Year. I think 9-3 will be pushing it. I think you go 10-2 or better, I think he will be Coach of the Year. Let's see. He also asked, who's destined to have a breakout year in the 2023 football season? I think the easy answer is Trey Knox, a guy that has flashed. He did flash at Arkansas, but is back under his old position coach, who is the OC now, Dowell Loggins. So you would think they will target him and make him a priority. I will go Trey Knox. I think that's the easiest one, but I think that is the one that makes the most sense. And I think that is also the most likely. So Trey Knox, to me, Austin, will be the guy. Austin also says if a new fan was going to catch a game at home this year, assuming all night games, which game would it have to be and why? If it was all night games, I would say, I think you got to go Austin with the Clemson game. I think you have to. I just, one of the best rivalries in college football. That atmosphere will be electric. I think you got to go with the Clemson game. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Dalton.
Dalton, what's up, man? How are you?
How's it going, man? How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking. What's up?
Well, now that I guess we've put a bow on the South Carolina baseball season, unfortunately, now we switch over to football. And as, you've said numerous times in the past, one of the biggest concerns, areas that we need to be worried about or that will determine the success or failure of this team is obviously the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line. In your opinion, who do you think needs to step up on the offensive line and defensive line in order to have that kind of success? Because, for the past 6 years, it feels like we haven't really seen a solid run defense, and the O-line seems to be, one of the worst in the SEC every single year.
Yeah, on the offensive line,
they have their moments.
Yeah, no, they've definitely had their moments for sure. The offensive line, I look at a guy like a Ja'Kai Moore who's going to play at the tackle position, also Vershawn Lee. It's hard to pick just one. I will say this with the injury, Dalton, to Jalen Nichols. I think you're going to be asking a lot of Marquis Anderson, the true freshman. You hate to pin it on a true freshman on the offensive line, but I think he's a guy you look to that needs to step up and step in and play good football for you immediately. So on the offensive line, it's sort of tough to pin down one guy. Also, I think Nick Gargiulo sort of living up to, he was a guy that was highly touted coming from Yale, if you will, and going to take over at the center position. I look at the center position, that is the quarterback of the offensive line. On the defensive front, I would say, I think Jordan Strawn emerging, coming back from injury, being that elite pass rusher on the outside, being the guy that we thought he was going to be last year before the injury took place. Because if you can't get after the quarterback, you're going to struggle. You're just flat out going to struggle, right? You play some teams in the front half of your schedule. UNC can throw it around. Georgia can throw it around. Tennessee can throw it around. Mississippi State can throw it around. And if you don't have a pass rush to combat that, you're going to put way too much pressure on your secondary to make plays, and especially a secondary that is replacing Cam Smith and Darius Rush. So, on the edge, I'd say Strawn. In the interior, I'd say a guy like Tonka Hemingway, just really evolving into and morphing into that leader on the interior, being that run stopper. I know he can play both edge and interior. Also Alex Huntley, being that guy and having his best season of football as a junior. So, I'd say this to you, Dalton. I think it's hard to pinpoint just one guy on both sides because I think there are just so many. It's a collective, right? The offensive line, defensive line, it's a collective for both parties. It's a collective for both sides. And I think multiple guys will have to step up if, this rushing offense, rushing defense, and beyond is going to improve this season.
Well, do you believe that, obviously we have some really good offensive line players, some really good D-line players coming in to the program this year in the 2023 class and next year in the 2024 class. I know it's not traditional normally for, offensive and defensive line players to come in and play immediately as freshmen. Mm-hmm. But do you believe that we're going to see a lot of playing time for these, blue chip guys we got coming in on the lines of scrimmage in the next couple of years?
Dalton, I think not only are we going to see a lot of playing time for those guys, I think a lot of the success in this 2023 season, I think it heavily leans on the performance of these young guys. I think how quickly your youngsters, your freshmen, how quickly they get acclimated. You're going to be leaning on a guy like Desmond Umeozulu. Like you've been recruiting the way you've been recruiting on the line of scrimmage for a reason. And so while you don't want to have to ask all of these guys to step up and step in and play meaningful snaps and be impact players, especially on the defensive side. Offensive line, I don't think that's a recipe for success to ask freshmen to play. Like, there are some exceptions to the rule, right? You remember Cade Mays over there at Tennessee, I believe, or was it at Georgia, whatever. Marquis Anderson could be a guy like that, but typically you don't want to have to do that. But on the defensive front, for sure, man. I mean, guys like Desmond Umeozulu, who was so good in the spring, that can step up and be impact players for you. So you got a lot of guys with upside. You're recruiting really well. It's just about how quickly can you bring those guys to speed. So, not only do I think they'll play, Dalton, but I think they're going to be a large part of South Carolina's success this year.
And then my next sort of question going off of that is, obviously, I mean, the offensive line has a lot of question marks. And the running back room, obviously, also has a lot of question marks. Do you believe that, sort of our lack of running back depth combined with, potentially mediocre offensive line play for most of the season will make this offense incredibly one-dimensional and sort of, lackluster? Because, obviously most offensive coordinators are going to use the running game to open up the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't really get anything going on the ground and they know that you're going to pass it every single time,
Mm-hmm.
then that could potentially be a issue on offense as far as productivity is concerned.
Dalton, that is my greatest fear for this Gamecocks offense going in this season. My greatest fear is not that Dowell Loggins will not be competent, because I know he's going to be an upgrade over Marcus Satterfield. There is no question. My greatest fear is that, and we'll see, could South Carolina's offensive line be better than expected? They absolutely could be. I thought as the season went on last year, I thought Lonnie Teasley did a really, really good job coaching them up. And, the O-line wasn't great by any means, but they were not the reason that South Carolina was losing football games, right? There were other things happening. But that is my greatest fear, that South Carolina will be one-dimensional, right? Because right now you don't have a true SEC starting running back. Your offensive line, after losing Jalen Nichols for what's probably going to be the entire season, it's a massive question mark. And so even as good as Juice Wells is, even as good as Trey Knox is, even as good as Eddie Lewis can be, as good as Spencer Rattler is, if South Carolina's one-dimensional, man, they're going to struggle. And I think that's why, again, you've seen some of the inconsistencies from South Carolina over the years, because they have just not had, the two things that travel, Dalton, and the two things you can carry with you on a week-in, week-out basis when you have them is run game and defense. Run game and defense. Carolina ain't had a lot of run game, and their defense has been hit or miss when it comes to stopping the run specifically. So I think that's why you've seen the inconsistencies. South Carolina will not become more consistent as a football team. They will not become more consistent offensively or as a football team until they become dependable and solid in the trenches. Because, again, I think that's the biggest reason, because, hey, it all comes back to matchups. There's some teams you play, you can get away with not being great up front because maybe they're lacking in that area too. But when South Carolina has played teams that are big, physical, strong football teams and nasty in the trenches, I mean, you've seen what we've seen, right? So that is my biggest fear, Dalton, and I think that is the reason that could be the undoing of, if Carolina were to slip to 7 wins or, God forbid, 6, if the offensive line is even more of a problem than we thought and the defensive front can't learn to stop the run, can't figure that out, I think it's going to be more of what we've seen over the last couple of years, which there will be moments of brilliance, and Spencer Rattler will play well, and, you've got weapons, obviously skill position guys on the outside, but if you cannot win in the trenches, you're going to find a lot of inconsistencies. And so, yes, Dalton, that is my greatest concern is, can South Carolina avoid being one-dimensional?
And, I mean, going back to your point, in the SEC, more than in any other conference in college football, they've got the best players in the trenches. I mean, just look, that's the reason why, all the teams in the SEC are winning national titles, competing at a high level. It's because they have the differentiator, which are the guys up front. I mean, Georgia, we've seen, who they have up front, LSU, Auburn, guys like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that we can figure it out up front, but I would agree with you that if we can get the better play on the lines of scrimmage, then we have a chance to be a special football here. But we just haven't seen a whole lot of consistency over the past couple years. So we'll see what happens. But I like where our recruiting is at as far as who we're bringing in, and you just have to hope that those guys can step up and contribute early in their career.
Indeed. Dalton, always a pleasure to hear from you, my friend. I appreciate you calling in.
No problem.
Yeah, man. Take care. Great stuff from our friend Dalton. And again, he makes a lot of great points. And again, guys, we got a long way to go, 81 days to be exact till the football season. So everything Dalton's talking about, and I was just echoing and breakdowns of we're going to get into everything, right? We got position unit previews, we got predictions, we got, we'll break down the offense, the defense, the special teams, and line of scrimmage. It's funny, guys. I was thinking back to when I started this. I started creating content around the Gamecocks in any capacity in 2017, right? January 2017. But I was just thinking about like the preseasons of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then this year. And I was just sitting, I was like, it feels like deja vu to a degree, because I'm like, I feel like we talk about line of scrimmage every single year. And it makes sense, though, because Carolina has finished 11th or worse in stopping the run 5 consecutive seasons. It's like, dude, we are talking the same storylines. It's crazy. And I'm glad Shane Beamer's recruiting to fix that. Let's jump back to the phone lines here. Justin, what's up, man? How are you?
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you asking what's going on.
Hey, Chris. The Gamecocks had a good baseball season. Hey, Chris, Chris, I knew Soccer was going to struggle at Florida. I knew that. Soccer caught Florida at a bad time, did that, Chris?
They did. Listen, Florida on their home field, man, one of the best teams in college baseball. There's a reason I picked the Gators to advance. It's not because I'm a hater or hate South Carolina or think lowly of them, but, it was going to be tough. And I even saw somebody on Twitter talking about, I thought this was supposed to be a neutral site, right? It's an NCAA. Dude, good luck with that, right? Good luck with that. So, it would have been, hey, listen, if South Carolina would have hosted at Founders Park, probably would have been a different story. Gamecocks probably take 2 of 3 and ride the home crowd and ride the momentum. But unfortunately, you had to go to Gainesville, and, Hurston Waldrop turned in his best performance of the season. And, and you got the results that we saw. So.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Chris, the thing about Florida is, hey, Chris, if Soccer could have, I wish we'd get some wins back, and things could have been different this season, huh, Chris?
Yeah, that last month of the season for sure, when I know you dealt with the injuries, but the way that you stumbled down the stretch, I think it cost you. It cost you that home field advantage in the super regional round. And, it's unfortunate. I think this team, I would not call this season a failure by any stretch. I think the season was a success. I thought it was a really, really good season. But, I will not blame anyone for feeling disappointed in this team not reaching Omaha after a 34-6 start. I will not blame anyone, because at that point, South Carolina was the best team in college baseball. And for that group to not make it to Omaha, Nebraska, it's a shame. It really is a shame.
Oh, yeah, Chris, you know what? It's been a long time since Troy Trey. How many times we won since 11? Bullshit, huh, Chris?
That's unfortunate, Justin. It's unfortunate indeed. Yeah, LSU and Florida are going to the College World Series, and Tennessee's in there as well.
Yeah, and Chris, LSU has the most. How many World Series LSU have been? A lot, did they?
LSU has won a lot. One of the best programs in college baseball for sure.
Man, that's it. Soccer, is it what, third place like that, or they're behind?
I'd have to look at the standings. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, they're up there. They're up there.
Yeah, they're just behind LSU, who went to the most World Series, right, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Right.
man, that's a hey Chris. I'm not sure. Here's the thing about Mark Kinston. Has he done enough to get another year that okay? In 2 or 3 years, you gotta get to a World Series, right, Chris?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I don't know if I label next year Omaha or bust, but it's a huge year, man. I mean, I think putting yourself back in a position to get to Omaha, I think is key.
Yeah, I think so too, Chris. Because here's the thing about it: if you don't get to Omaha 2 or 3 years, then oh boy, look, this is how far it's gonna get us, right, Chris?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
And then,
people are going to be talking.
yeah, and you know what? If he can't get us there, who else could get you there, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's Kingston's job it'll be a talking point yet again next year.
Yep, it is. And Chris, before I go, man, football's a post house, huh? And Chris, the SEC schedule comes out tomorrow, right, Chris?
Yeah, the SEC schedule will drop tomorrow for 2024, so we'll find out who South Carolina's playing. I don't think dates will be attached to it, but we will find out who the Gamecocks' opponents will be in 2024. Yeah, tomorrow night.
Yeah, and Chris, I said one probably be male soccer opponent for Western long-time Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine we will have Kentucky, and I'm just curious to see if we're going to play Texas or Oklahoma. I'm really curious to see if either of those will land on the schedule.
Yeah, and what about Georgia? I'm not sure they're going to be on next year's schedule.
I'd be surprised if we don't play Georgia. I bet we'll see.
Yeah, because that's some teams been not playing that season, huh, Chris?
That's right. It's college football is changing before our very eyes, man. The SEC included. So.
Yeah, and Chris, we may not get Alabama next season either, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Because soccer supposed to play Alabama next season, right, Chris? But I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah. No, I mean it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, but I'm excited, man. Oklahoma and Texas in the league and the matchups are going to be electric. So.
Yep, we have to see. Hey, Chris, what about Dowell Loggins?
What about Dowell Loggins? I mean, I again, we'll see, man. It's he's got a lot to prove. There's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, and I love everything he said at this point. And now we'll just see what he can do with with Spencer Rattler and all the weapons he has, and go from there. But got to work around kind of a makeshift offensive line, but we'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like Chris, like you said, man, we don't have one guy this year, but man, they got to try something different, huh, Chris?
They got to try something different, man. Indeed. Yeah. You got to try something different. Got to make it click. Got to make it work.
Yep. Well, Chris, that's all I say, man.
Justin, I appreciate the call, my friend. Always a pleasure to hear from you.
You too. Take care. Go Gamecocks.
Yes, sir. Take care. Go Gamecocks, Justin. I appreciate it. Great stuff from Justin. As always, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into a break. On the side, I want to continue to hear from you, more your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, taking your questions, your comments, your calls in our Power Hour. Craig Goblin asks, hour-long show tomorrow night. Again, tomorrow night on SEC Network, I would imagine 7 o'clock will be the schedule release show where they will release the 2024 football schedule. I would, Craig, assume that it'll be about an hour. Yeah, I mean, they drag that stuff out, so they drag that stuff out for sure. Austin Gregory asked me, what's the longest call you've ever heard? Has anyone gone over 30 minutes before? No, I would never allow it. Again, I try to keep the calls to as close as 5 minutes as possible. But the longest has been like 18 minutes. And again, that's I figured out like 2 months ago. I was just like, dude, we got to stop. We got to stop the long drawn out calls, man. Call, get the question in, get the comment in, whatever. Get out of there. You know what I mean? So anyways, let's dive back into your questions. We have a lot of comments here. Got a lot of comments here. Joey80 says, oh God, here we go. Have you heard the rumors that Cam Canarella that plays at Clemson may be transferring? He's from my hometown. The word is he may go to Carolina. Joey 80, we had a lot of fun with Tiger fans on Twitter yesterday. My goodness, the screenshot that Austin Gregory actually sent me of his Facebook profile that says he's like employed by South Carolina or goes to South Carolina or whatever. We ran with that. And my God, I mean, you would have think full meltdown mode. Full meltdown mode. Let's see. I see people going back and forth in the comments, and I have no idea why. Joseph says, why wouldn't everyone come back next year and improve their draft stock and go to Omaha? That makes no sense to me. We could have everybody back with McGillis. Joseph, some guys are ready to play Pro Bowl, bottom line. I mean, some guys, Joseph, you got to accept some guys don't want to come back to college. I mean, a guy like Will Sanders is still probably, even after this season, going to be a high draft pick. So he may just simply put, Joseph, not want to come back to college. Some guys don't want to go to school. Some guys don't like school, man. So a guy like Braylon Wimmer, been in college for forever. He may not want to come back. Some guys will get advised, hey, it's in your best interest in regards to your leverage, your draft slot, where you are. And again, some guys are just ready for the next step. So there are many different reasons, Joseph, but I don't think it's just as simple as you might think. We'll put it that way. Let's see. Getting back into the questions from earlier that Austin Greger was asking, what are the expectations in year 2 under Lamont Paris? Austin, I think realistic expectations for Lamont is make a push to make the NIT. I think that's fair. I mean, you got to start expecting postseason at some point, but I don't think it's fair in year 2 to expect NCAA tournament. I mean, are they going to have a roster that's really good enough to make the NCAA tournament? I mean, I think 500 in SEC play, and making the NIT would be a good season. So I think that'd be a good season. Austin Gregory, if we only won 7 games this year, which 7 would you pick for us to win? Count UGA as an automatic loss in this scenario. Austin, you got to wait, my friend. You got to wait. You got to wait until my predictions actually drop. Austin, top 3 worst coaches in Gamecocks football history. Will Muschamp. Who else? Will Muschamp, Sparky Woods, and I don't know. I'd have to go back through the record books. I have no idea. Andy Rossway, who would you rather play, Texas or Oklahoma in football, and why? Good question. I'll say Texas, and I don't really have a reason, Andy, other than just the brand of Texas. If you, I know Oklahoma's still a really big brand, but I'll go Texas. Ruination says Brad Scott, as does Justin Martin. I mean, is it fair to include the guy who led South Carolina to their first ever bowl win into the top 3 worst coaches of all time? Is that fair, Ruination? I mean, I know he wasn't great by any means, but I don't know. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. The phone lines are open here on this Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Brewer Nation says people don't realize what Scott did to this program on the way out. Yeah, I mean, fill me in, Brewer Nation. I have no idea. I mean, I know he wasn't great, again, by any stretch. I'm not sitting here saying he was some great coach or anything. I just admittedly don't know everything that took place. Lynn Turner said Mason Love needs to add a quarterback coach over the summer if he wants to fill Kai Kroger's shoes. Yeah, with all the fakes and everything. I mean, why not? Yeah, learn to throw the football. Big Wash says if we had Jerzenbeck, we would have won game 1. I didn't see anything special from Florida that tells me differently, and that's just my opinion. Big Wash, that is just your opinion. I thought Will Sanders was fantastic in game 1, and he pitched his tail off, and you still didn't get it done. I don't know that Jerzenbeck would have honestly thrown any better than Will Sanders did. Lynn Turner said when Tanner relaxed, That's when his teams took off. One of his former players gave him the advice, and it worked. It did. It did indeed. Also, Ray Tanner becoming a grandparent, from what I was told by players on those teams, that also softened Coach Tanner up and made a huge impact on his coaching style and obviously the Gamecocks as well. So let's see. Just diving into these questions. Austin Gregory says, due to some rumblings I've heard, I would not be surprised to see Caleb Denny gone. Yeah, no, for sure. That's one I've also heard. That is one that I've also heard. All right, let's jump to your phone. Let's jump back to the phone lines if I can spit it out.
Call from
Dale from East Tennessee.
to accept.
Dale, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, are we live or is this a recording?
We're-
You know, it's been like
Dale, we're live, Dale. We're live. The people are hearing you. What's up?
Hey, man. It's Dale. I just wanted to say, man, you seen the big news today?
I do not think I've seen the news. Can you fill us in?
Well, first off, let's go ahead and say, Smokey's going to Omaha.
You called it. You
Omaha.
called. Yeah, you called it, Dale. Tennessee's for real.
Yeah, man, they took out the arch nemesis, you know, the old Gamecocks, you know. I mean, not Gamecocks, not Clemson Tigers. You know, so we both were excited about that. But now they going on to Omaha. Not Omaha Beach, but Omaha, Nebraska. So, that, you know, that's rule number one. But so I'm happy for that, Chris. But the other thing is you know, I'm over the breakup and all, but, you know, she made it public today. She got her new boyfriend. So I just don't know how to feel today a little bit. You know, I'm just kind of.
Rebecca
really
did.
hitting home.
Rebecca made it public.
Yep.
Wow.
Got her a new man.
Rebecca has a new boo. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm good with, you know, moving on. You know, I was single pringling down in Myrtle Beach, you know, a couple of weeks ago. That was fun. You know, still ain't got no friend, you know, nobody's accepted my friend request yet that I found down there. But, you know, that's besides the point. But it's really hitting home right now. It's like, you know, you see another chapter starting to blossom that you're just not in. You realize you're just a side character in somebody else's picture book, you know?
Right. You were just a chapter in that book, I guess.
Yeah, I'm about to go pick up Keith. We're going to go meet Martin and go get a drink together because we've all been there.
Y'all have all been down that road.
We've all been down that road. It's just, you know, we all kind of feel like we can relate to one another, not just because we're neighbors, but because, you know, we've all been in this situation before, and it's just my time now. So the boys are going to look out for me. So we're about to head up to Shawnee's, hang out, get a drink, and try to get over today, man. But, yeah, I didn't know if you'd seen it because I'm sure she'll be in here soon talking about the hell with Dale, Keith, and Martin, all of us. And whatever the new guy's name is, he'll be her king.
I think you need to take on Rebecca's new boo in a game of Crash Bandicoot Racing 1v1 for Rebecca's. Yeah.
Chris, don't get me fired up now. Ain't no way that little boy can. Oh man, hey, he's coming dead last every time. Mm-hmm. Yep. But you got any recommendations of anything I can do to find me a new woman or a place to go?
I got nothing. I got nothing for you, man. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't think I have the remedy to cure a broken heart here on this Tuesday, my friend.
You got a third cousin or something that, you know, somebody that I can talk to?
Nobody available, my guy. Nobody available.
All right, well. Yeah, I'm just happy I'm talking to you too, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just been talking to myself. It's been like 2 months, I feel like.
I know. It's been forever, Dale. I apologize that I've been putting you on the back burner, my man. I apologize for that.
it's understandable. You know, small doses of Dale is probably what's best. You know, so I understand.
We can only handle
That's
so much
what- that's
greatness.
what-
We can only handle so much greatness at one time, my friend.
Exactly. I'm like a scratch and sniff sticker. You know, it's real strong at the start, but you know it'll wear off quick. So.
For sure. Yeah, good way to
All
put it.
right, buddy. I just wanted to holler, touch base with you, and let you know I'm struggling a little bit today, but we're gonna be all right. I'm seeing Chiefs pulling up now, so I'm gonna get off here so I can head up to Shoney's and eat my tears away.
You enjoy that, Dale. Appreciate you. Try to keep your head up.
Thanks, Chris. You're the best, man. BDD out.
Oh, BDD out. And Rebecca's got a new boo, by the way. Wow. That's the news of the day right there. Not a welcome home, not a report card, not an award show. Rebecca has a new boo. How about that? Ethan says, saw a rumor on Twitter last night that I'm not sure is true or not. I heard Dan Mullen's considering an offensive analyst role for us. Ethan. Do you realize who tweeted it, my man? Drew P. Johnson tweeted it, Ethan. It's not real, my guy. It's fake. It's fake. It's very, very, very fake. Austin, Gregory, Chris, who do you have taking home the crown in this year's College World Series Jello Shot Challenge? It's got to be LSU, man. It has to be LSU. So it's got to be LSU. Yeah. Ethan says, I love our baseball team, but it's difficult to see that not many Gamecock fans want to believe in them or talk good about them unless they win it all every year. Well, Ethan, this is a fan base that got spoiled under Ray Tanner. That's just bottom line. Got really, really spoiled. And I'm not saying don't have high expectations or high standards, but you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful. You really do, because, you know, the last thing you want to do is, you know, start writing off super regional 40-plus win seasons as bad seasons. You know what I mean? So to your point, though, Ethan, that was the case this year. It did happen. So. Luke RJ, Beamer Rattler 2023. Indeed, my friend. Indeed. Get your merch today. TSUS.store. Ruben Nation said, Rebecca's like a blunt. Everyone gets a hit. God, that was foul, Ruben Nation. Foul. Absolutely foul. Andy Rossway says, this is the Gamecock content we need. No doubt. Here we go. Let's jump back to the phone lines here.
Call from
Peyton, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good about yourself, Chris.
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking what's going on.
This is going to be a rather quick one here. I just want to talk a little bit about Nick Klauber for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think he could potentially make the most impact for us next season?
I think
as
position-wise, you're saying.
Position-wise, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think undoubtedly the wide receiver position. You know, I think you heard Beamer talk about he's not going to be a hand-in-the-dirt guy. He's going to be on the outside. I mean, I think for sure, man, using that size, that speed, that athleticism, I think wide receiver is definitely it. I don't expect him to play any defense. I know he was a guy that played DN, but, you know, one of the reasons he came to South Carolina is I think they sold to him that he will be featured in the offense and he will get the football in his hand. So I think the wide receiver position most definitely is where you're going to see him featured this year.
I think 6'5", what is he, 220 pounds, something like that?
I'd have to look up exactly here. I've actually got it right here. Nicholas Harbor is, let's see. So yeah, 6'5", 225. Yeah.
That kind of speed that he has along with that size, I just, good luck SEC corners. That's all I got to say. If you try to press him, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, I mean, again, his biggest challenge early on is just going to be learning the nuances of the receiver position. But once he gets that down, man, and I know the question people have had, well, can he catch the football? I think they can teach him to catch the football. So, So yeah, I mean, I think for sure, once he gets that down pat, the athleticism, the speed, all that. I mean, it's the size, it's there, man. Those are things you cannot teach.
Yeah, I think he's going to help us out a lot. Hopefully, if he can get his feet underneath him and get used to the speed of the SEC play and used to our offense, and I think he can help exploit a lot of teams for us this year on offense. So I agree with you. I think wide receiver would be best case scenario for Nick, and I think he can have a great year.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I think he can be a key piece for us that maybe is not quite as expected going in the season because he's just a true freshman, and I think keeping the expectations realistic are important. But yeah, he could be a guy that really breaks out and helps Carolina win a couple games this year.
Sure, man, for sure. Well, got to head on in back to work here, and I'll probably I'll tune in again for sure another time this week. And always good to talk to you, Chris. Cox, thanks for his up show, man.
Peyton, you're the man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Take care. Great stuff. Great stuff from Peyton. I know, Bruin Nation, that was not Peyton Dawkins, my guy P-Dawk from Above Average Gamecocks. That was not him. No, that was not P-Dawk. P-Dawk, I miss those days. P-Dawk calling in and all that. It was, good times. Either way, that was not P-Dawk. That was not P-Dawk. But great stuff there from Peyton. Appreciate Peyton calling in as always. And guys, like I mentioned, we are going to officially really hit the gas pedal, I would say, starting tomorrow on the football side of things. Not with like our preseason content or anything, because you guys know how this rolls, right? You already know how it goes, where we the next really 2 weeks or so, up until July 4th, we'll do our top 5 series. We'll continue to do that. Tomorrow, we'll actually get into home and away uniforms. All right, my and I'm not exactly sure. We're going to do multiple top 5 or just one. I got to figure that out, right? I got to figure that out in regards to content where I want to go with that. But over the next couple of weeks, we're going to continue that top 5 series, talking uniforms, talking specific players, all kinds of stuff. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But, we'll get to July 4th. The 3rd is a Monday. The 4th is a Tuesday. We will take the 3rd and the 4th off for July 4th holiday, of course. Do whatever, hang out, go to the barbecue, go to the lake. Hell, I may go to the mountains, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. And get ready. Because on July 5th and July 6th, we are diving into, and I believe that's what we'll do, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, we'll do that. Wednesday, Thursday, July 5th and July 6th. I will lock in my game by game predictions for the 2023 football season. And at that point, we are all systems go on the preseason content, breaking down everything, dissecting everything, diving into everything. It's going to be a ton of fun. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into one final break. On the side, I want to continue to hear from you as we close out the show in style. More your questions, comments, calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. they're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, what is up, guys? Final 10 minutes or so here on this Tuesday. Going to appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. A life event that happened yesterday, and I feel like more of an adult because of it. I am now officially a Costco member. So, yeah, that's something new in my life, by the way, my personal life. I joined Costco. And again, I feel this is my first time ever joining like a Sam's Club, Costco, any of the sort. I feel more like an adult now because of that. I don't know why. I don't know. I just do. So, yeah, it's crazy, too, when you're in there, like, applying for everything and, like, how serious they take it all. Like, yeah, but it's cool, though. Yeah, it's cool. Costco member officially. How about that? We're moving on up in the world. Yeah, I mean, Andy, here's the way I look at it. Andy Rossway says, it'll quickly become your favorite place. I mean, Andy, I look at it this way. If I'm paying a yearly membership to go there, why would I ever go anywhere else? I mean, the only thing is I know they've got their hot dogs or their signature item. Costco does not have a pub sub, does it? It doesn't have a sub of any kind, which is unfortunate. They do have food options though. They've got literally everything you can think of in there. Because I was in there yesterday shopping around. But I just feel more like an adult, man. I don't know. That's something new happening in my life, in case you were curious. Let's see. Justin Martin points out LSU has 19 College World Series appearances. Florida has 13. Mississippi State 12. South Carolina baseball needs to catch up. Okay. Our number is 11. So Andy Rossway says, you will adapt and thrive, speaking on the Costco side of things. Heck, I might go back today, Andy. I might go. I got a right mind to go back today. Why not? Good stuff. But it's a great place, though. Yeah. So. Let's see. Again, guys, 843-790-3377 as we close out this show. Austin Gregory, did you see my comment about the tight end? I might have missed that one. Austin, you left me a lot of questions, my guy. You left a lot of questions. I see the one. What is your 2000s all-time starting five, quarterback, running back, receiver, wide receiver 1, 2, and tight end? See, you're asking me a question like that, Austin. I feel like we need to sit down and do some research. Off the very top, I'll just go. How about this? My 2000s starting five of my favorites. Quarterback. Quarterback, Savell Newton. Running back, Corey Boyd. Wide receiver 1, Sidney Rice. Wide receiver 2, Troy Williamson. It's tough. I want to say Kenny McKinley. I got to go Troy Williamson, though. And tight end, we'll go. Shout out my guy, Andy Boyd. Let's go Andy Boyd at tight end. If I had tight end 2, I'd say Jared Cook. But I'm going to go Andy Boyd, man. I'm going to go Andy Boyd. Friend of the show. McKinley is definitely one that's, yeah. Brewer Nation says next you'll be going to Cracker Barrel 3 times a week before heading there. Why would I go to Cracker Barrel before going there, Brewer Nation? What is the point of that? Justin Martin points out Kentucky baseball has never went to the College World Series. Yeah, never been. It's crazy too, because their program's a lot better now. But unfortunately, you get matched up having to go to LSU. That's just a really unfortunate draw, right? If you're Kentucky. You're Kentucky, man. That's tough. That's really, really tough. Wake Forest at plus 225 to win the College World Series. Florida plus 415. LSU plus 415. Virginia plus 650. Tennessee plus 1,000. TCU plus 1050. Stanford plus 1,300. Oral Roberts plus 2,000. I tell you what, Tennessee plus 1,000, man, I think is the best bet. I really do. I don't know, man. I like Tennessee a lot. Dude, even, bro, this might be worth throwing a cut, like throw 100 on LSU, throw 100 on Tennessee, and throw 100 on Stanford, just watch it play out. Like, really, truly, I think there's some value there, man. I think there's some value in some of these for sure. Let's see. So what is training camps underway? I think is training camps underway for NFL teams. We're seeing NFL teams, their players, their squads take the field, if you will. Lynn Turner says, I hate Sidney Rice had to go pro after sophomore year before the days of NIL. I think it cut his career short with injuries before he was physically ready. Yeah, the days of NIL, guys are definitely staying in college longer, which I think is a positive. It is a positive, no doubt. TaylorMade says, Chris, you see the stat about Tennessee athletics department? Good grief. They have somehow won all the SEC sports or won the SEC All Sports Championship 2 years in a row. Crazy they flipped it so quick. I mean, we were talking about best athletics department in the SEC. I think Tennessee's definitely got to be up there. They are crushing. They're crushing. Will Hall says, fun Andy Boyd story. He, Blake Mitchell, and Cody Wells used to live next door to some buddies of mine, and we would hang out on occasion. He came in the house pretty tipsy one night, right as the Pirates of the Caribbean song started playing, and he super geeked out over the song playing. He also had a really good Lou Holtz impression he threw out. Yeah, he's Will Hall. He's done that on our show, but no, that sounds about right to Andy Boyd. And of course, the Pirates of the Caribbean song, that was that for some reason that caught on. For some reason, that was like the intro song to 2005, right? Like that was like on the scoreboard. It was the song they play. And then it's time for Carolina football, Steve Spurrier would say, and 2001 would play, and the rest is history. I mean, guys, it's crazy to think there used to not be the Welcome to Williams-Brice video. That used to not be a thing. Like, it's kind of wild. Yeah, I mean, I was there. I mean, I was at that, so. John Edwards is my all-time is Shaw, Lattimore, Jeffrey, Rice, and Cook. Well, John Edwards, he was talking about the 2000s, so 2009. The 2010s would be the era that you are referencing. But that's all time, I guess. You're all time. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, John Edward, fair enough. John Edward also says it's a mandatory mini camp that the players are going through right now. So, got you. Guys, again, I appreciate you all tuning in. Like I said, just stay tuned for exactly what the content schedule will be. Now that we are diving into the off season, if you will, and really turning the page to football. I mean, we really are turning the page to college football and breaking everything down. And I know these next couple of weeks are really like peak off season, doing our top 5 list, stuff like that. I can promise you we got some things in the works, guys, that we're really going to dive into football season, and we're going to hit it hard, and I cannot wait to really get the ball rolling, get the conversation going. It's going to be a ton of fun, man. Also, we got our merch relaunch, our store relaunch in the pipeline. Jeff Gullidge, here's a great question. Is the T-Sus bus still in play for the future? Yes, Jeff, I would say for the future. I don't know if like this season's a reality, but just for the future as a whole, I mean, could be. Could be. You never know, Jeff. You never know. It could be. It could be. You know, that's the thing. People ask me all the time about my plans for the football season and what we are, again, planning on doing. And, all I know is this, guys. I am planning on 110% operating a post-game call-in show. So outside of that, would I love to go to games? I mean, I would. I think there's also great value watching it in studio and us doing our thing in the Big Cock Club Discord and stuff like that. The bottom line is this, though. I don't have all the details yet for football season. Most likely we will not be at the games. We will be back at the studio, rocking and rolling and doing our thing, creating content, all that good stuff. Because, guys, again, especially on football game days, like I need to be plugged in. I need to be locked in, creating content, all that good stuff, as I mentioned. So, and then we're going to rock the post-game call-in shows immediately after the games, which are going to be electric. So, but I say all that in saying we've got 81 days. While we're plotting and scheming right now, there are some loose ends that who knows? Who knows where we'll be this 2023 football season. But you guys, whatever. Yeah, Chase, if I'm not banned from the stadium, you're right. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm banned from every stadium across the country. It's wild. Wild how that works, Chase. Anyways, guys, hey, we've hit 3 o'clock. Thank you all so much, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you again to everyone that called in, all of our commenters, and JC Sherbert for taking the time to chat today. Guys, of course, as always, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we drop new video content and when we go live here on TDC. Also, subscribe to the podcast. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We drop daily shows each and every single day on the podcast side of things. So, guys, again, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you all